All right, so before we swap the 13B into my 240SX, we need to make engine mounts, and to make engine mounts, you kind of need to have the motor in the car. To aid with that whole process, I picked up this Fish Racing bell housing that adapts my cd009 to 13B. So we need to pull that out, and then over here we need to mount up the spare motor. So this is my coworker's 13B. We need to pull off this clutch and flywheel and see if it fits. So some possible issues we might run into is this oil pan might sit too low according to where the S13 subframe will sit. That'll also be dictated by how far back the motor is going to be mounted in the engine bay. Another thing is the input shaft bearing that's already in the E-shaft may be a different size than what the cd009 takes. Another thing is we might need to pull off this water pump just to get a better idea of how the whole motor is going to sit in the engine bay. And then we can design motor mounts off of this front cover. So to see if the input shaft on the trans is going to fit into the motor, I got this 16mm wrench, and as you can see, there's a little bit of play in there. So I found a socket, this is 11mm, and this has about the same amount of play. So I can put this into the motor here, see if this fits. Now, as you can see, I can't push that in any further, so that means that we need to take this bushing out. All right, so the 13B motor is bolted on to the cd009 trans, and next up we're going to test fit this into the 240 and make engine mounts. The engine and trans went together surprisingly easy, but it did take longer than we thought it was going to take. So in the next video, we'll be pulling off the oil pan and then trying to get it in the car. But until then, see you next time.